We'll go for EFL Trophy tie against Burton Albion.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's a competition you want to progress in. Is it an opportunity as well for everybody else to get some minutes in the tank?
Yeah, we prepared and not going to go away from that. In terms of the team tomorrow night will be different to the one that started on Saturday. I'm looking for a better performance, but it's a trophy we've always gone into optimistic and want to do well in.
In terms of team selection, as you say,
yeah.
you wanted to try and give as many players the opportunity to play. In terms of that, Johnson Clark-Harris, will he get a certain amount of minutes tomorrow?
Yes, we've planned for him to get a certain amount. It won't be 90, but it'll be enough for him to have a right good tilt at it, if you know what I mean, full hit. And then obviously, so it's a big game for him tomorrow night in terms of where he's at. But he looks far better. What we've got into will help. And tomorrow, we'll find out exactly where he's at.
With Ricky injured, will you be utilising some of the younger members of the attacking options you've got, or will you potentially move people into different positions?
There's different options I've got. There'll be quite a young bench, but the way I want to play it, in terms of utilising the squad, like I said earlier, it'll be mainly the senior players that are taking part in the game. Yeah,
and given, as you said about the performance on Saturday, these players have got an opportunity, haven't they, with the league game coming up, to take their claim?
Very much so. When you get a below par performance, certainly in terms of the levels of intensity that I'm used to or want, then obviously it opens up the door and opportunities may arise for others, and it's up to them to take them. And that's how I'd be looking at it if I was a player going into the game tomorrow.
And last year you blooded quite a number of youngsters in this competition and really gave them their spurs, so to speak. And as you say, there's opportunities for those kind of players to get minutes tomorrow. Yeah, we feel we've got touchwood. We've got Ricky injured, but apart from that, there's good numbers to the squad. The team I had in mind, there's one or two changes to the actual team I had in mind because certain things on Saturday and one or two niggles. So, but mainly it'll obviously be 8 or 9 of the ones that didn't start. And Burton as a team, obviously, can't really read too much into anything at this stage of the season, but they're a decent outfit. They are. They've got a new manager, young manager, so he'll be keen, I'm sure, to start off well. I went to their game on Friday. I've seen a very good performance in the first half. They've got a real experience in their team, but a lot of knowledge and a lot of know-how. I don't know what they're going to do, obviously, what team they're going to pick, but I'm obviously more interested in what we do. If they play the same team, it'll be a very good team to play against, and on their performance the other night, they were good, especially the first half. Yeah, and the way this competition shapes up, if you can get results very early on, it does give you a little bit more flexibility, so you want to start well. Yeah, last season we were good in the early rounds. We got through, I think, after the first 2 games, and we're going to try and treat it the same way. So you want to go into the 3rd game already through, and it means it's a little bit more relaxed. You may get a better performance, but we want to progress in the tournament, and we want to, I say it every year. It doesn't really catch the imagination until you get to the quarter semis, but then it certainly does. You'd like to think by the time we get round to the business end, the crowds are back, so the opportunities remains the same. The possibility of playing at Wembley, and they don't come often. The only real, genuine, realistic chance we've got are either the playoffs, which obviously you would rather go up, or this tournament, because it's unrealistic to think that we're definitely not going to go in the Carabao, but the FA Cup. Everyone talks about no crowds and whatever, but is it almost a case of we've got to stop talking about it if there's no crowds? So. Because ultimately that's what it's like. I think so. I went away from Saturday scratching my head a little bit, as I sort of deemed to after the game, in terms of the performance, and I spoke to the players this morning and said, look, have you got an issue with no fans? They were like, no. I think everyone was scratching their heads a little bit. The only answer we can give to that sort of performance, and look, it was more for me the intensity and the levels of running we did, as opposed to some of the quality. Definitely in the final third wasn't good enough. We have to get that first bit right to give us every chance of winning a game. So the only way to answer that is it just doesn't happen again, and we make sure we get to a certain level that's won us a lot of games. Sometimes weird when if you're watching on TV, or even if you're watching with no crowd, you can forget certain things within a game, and obviously there's a lot of chances on Saturday. You didn't actually play that badly on Saturday if you took it in context of the 90 minutes, but because there's no crowd, you tend to forget certain things, I guess. Yeah, but when you look back at it and you're analysing it, and obviously the emotion of the actual game live is not there. The calmness is there. Obviously I was out. The players know I was very angry on Saturday, but with the levels of the intensity, we've got an identity to how we want to play. In every game we play, I want
you know, the opposition to say, well, they work hard them, and we didn't get to the numbers I expect, and that is one thing I always look at first. I think we've got a very, very talented squad, and Saturday's not going to change my mind on that. I think we've got some excellent players, but if we don't get to the certain levels, then it'll cause us a problem, and Saturday proved that. I don't think, when you look back, generally you find that in a below par performance, it's never as bad as you think. When you think it's a really good performance, it's never as good, and that was certainly the case watching it back. But again, I go back to what I just focused on with the players today, and we've drawn a line under it now. We move on. If we don't get to certain standards and principles of how we want to play, then, you know, it gives us a lesser chance of winning a game, and Saturday proved that. Was a great example of it.
And just finally, how important is it for you going into Saturday's league game to get some of these players that are not going to feature in your squad because the squad's too big to get out? Because ultimately, from a training perspective, you need to be focusing with one group now, don't you?
Yeah, and I think now that, you know, as you mentioned, so obviously we focus on the group that's playing tomorrow night. Then the ones that are not involved, we have to focus on them tomorrow afternoon in a session before the game. Thursday, the ones that play tomorrow night, probably doing a bit more recovery, so then the focus goes. So it changes, but what it gives you is smaller numbers can make it easier. Now the following Tuesday opens up to us. We're going to try and arrange a friendly at the training ground, because we want a game. We thought we're hoping we'd have another game, but obviously being out of the cup, we don't. It gives the players that play on Saturday and possibly the following Saturday a free week, so it might help. So there is things to take away from Saturday. It wasn't all doom and gloom. It was the first game, and I hope we obviously get a better performance tomorrow.